Aloha everybody, this is Gigi from Kauai Community College. This is the video on fraction review, so you should actually watch my lessons on fractions first before this review. Okay, so in this video we are going to be dividing fractions. So let's start with, in terms of fraction, let's start with fraction divided by a whole number. Okay, so we have 3/4 divided by 2. Like if you had 3 pieces of something and you have to make them into 2 equal groups, then each one of them is going to have 1.5. And in this case, we'll have 1.5 of the quarter size piece, which looks like a pretty nasty looking fraction. So let's try not to have a mixed number over the denominator, right? So how do we think about this? And so this is actually the motivation to think about an equivalent fraction that is able to split into 2 equal parts, right? So of course 3 pieces going to be hard to split into 2 equal parts. So we're going to think 6/8, right? 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. Now I can actually split them into 2 equal parts. 6/8 divided by 2 is 3/8, right? How do we see that? Here is 1 equal part, and here's 2 equal parts. And each one of these equal part is 3/8, right? So 3/4 divided by 2 is something, and that something is equal to something, right? So that something times 2 is going to equal to 3/4, right? So 2 groups of what is 3/4? 2 groups of 3/8. So the answer here is 3/8. All right, so that's how we think about that visually. Okay, now what if we have fraction divided by fraction? Same thing. We're gonna think 3/4 divided by 2/5 is something where we are thinking that something multiplied by 2/5 is gonna give me 3/4, meaning how many groups of 2/5 are there in 3/4? Now it's kind of hard to think this way since the size of the pieces are not the same, so it's kind of hard to count how many of these will fit into there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and think about multiples of 5 and multiple of 4 to find that least common denominator. And I say least because it's easier to use a smaller number, right? So 20 is the least common multiple between 4 and 5. So our fractions are going to be looking like how many groups of 4/20 is in 9/20. So how many groups of 4 pieces are there in 9 pieces? And the size of those pieces are those tiny little pieces where there are 20 equal parts in one, right? So we know that it's going to be, like logically, you're going to see how many 4 are there in 9. Well, there's at least 2 4, so the answer is going to be 2 and some, right? Some extra. So let's visualize that. Here is 9/20, 9 out of 20, right? So how many groups of 4/20 is out of 9? Well, here's 1 group. Here is 2 groups. Here is 3 groups. Oh, wait a minute. That's not a full group. That is actually only a quarter of a group. 1/4 of a group of 4/20, right? And this is 1 full group and 2 full groups, and then a quarter of a group is 2 1/4. So we are saying that there are 2 1/4 groups of 420 in 920. So the answer is 2 1/4. Okay, nowhere in here that I would say keep change flip, and you should not do that yet until students develop their number sets.